Direct News TV. August 31, 2023. Russia-Ukraine updates, 6 Ukrainian servicemen killed near Bakhmut. The Prigozhin plane crash, Putin's revenge. Wagner Group leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, is presumed dead after a plane crash in Russia. Could this be Putin taking revenge for the mutiny Prigozhin led in June? And what will happen to the Wagner Group now? Russia destroys Ukrainian drone over Bryansk region, ministry. Russian anti-aircraft units have destroyed a Ukrainian drone over the Bryansk region in southern Russia, the country's defense ministry has said. Bryansk has been the target of several of Ukraine's recent attempts to launch drone strikes on Russian territory. UN chief says does not expect peace anytime soon. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres does not expect peace in Ukraine anytime soon, he said. When asked whether he thought talks on the subject were possible during the UN General Assembly in mid-September, the head of the United Nations said, "But I would of course, be lying if I would say that I believe that we are seeing in the immediate horizon the possibility of peace in Ukraine. I think that we are not yet there," he said. And that is why it is so important to take measures to reduce the dramatically negative impacts of these war in relation to the world. Kyiv mayor says city plans to build up fortifications. The Ukrainian capital plans to build up more fortifications because the risk of Russian attack remains, Kyiv authorities have said. Russian forces tried to take the capital in the first phase of their full-scale invasion, but retreated after facing fierce Ukrainian resistance. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said Kyiv would allocate 800 hryvnias, $21.7 million, to build fortifications and for other urgent military needs. Kyiv is and will be the #1 priority target for the enemy, Serhiy Popko, head of the military administration, said on the Telegram messaging app. Klitschko also said he would make a separate amendment for consideration in the city's budget to allocate 300 million hryvnias, $8.1 million, for the needs of Ukraine's armed forces. Reviving grain deal, critical for food security, Turkey. Turkey's foreign minister said reviving the Black Sea grain deal was critical for food security. We underlined its critical role for global food security and stability in the Black Sea, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said during a joint news conference with his Russian counterpart. Fidan said he reiterated Turkey's belief that revitalizing the initiative will restore stability. The Turkish minister was in Moscow to prepare an informal summit between Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Putin in Russia's Black Sea resort city of Sochi, expected for next week. While Russia pulled out of the grain deal in July, Ankara wants the warring sides to return to the agreement and use it as a basis for broader peace talks. No sign of grain deal guarantees, Lavrov. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow sees no sign it will receive the guarantees it requires before resuming a grain deal. He added that a plan was currently being discussed to supply 1 million tons of grain to Turkey at a discounted price on top of the free grain supplies promised to some African countries. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan also said that the grain deal was essential, but that Russia has demands regarding exporting its products and wants those demands met before reviving it. Moscow will return to grain deal if measures are taken, Lavrov. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow will return to the Black Sea grain deal as soon as concrete measures are taken to resolve all its issues. Russia quit the year-old deal in July, complaining that obstacles to its grain exports were not considered. Lavrov added that President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan will hold a meeting soon at the Russian Black Sea resort of Sochi. British volunteer killed while fighting in Ukraine. Sam Newey, 22, a British volunteer who was fighting on the front line in Ukraine, has been killed according to his brother. "I cannot put into words how broken I feel. I also cannot emphasize how proud I am of my little brother. He'd just turned 21 when he decided to answer the call and travel to Ukraine to push back against Russian imperialism," Dan said in a post on Facebook. "Sam, you gave your life for people you never knew and acted with courage, morality and honor. Not only are you my little brother, but you're an exceptional man, a good soldier and one of the bravest people I ever had the privilege of knowing. Thank you so much for being part of my life for these 22 years. I love you always, brother," he added. Prigozhin plane crash, what we know more than a week after Wagner chief's death. In late June, Prigozhin took control of the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don, the opening salvo of a mutiny against the Kremlin that ended in a fragile truce orchestrated by Belarus's leader. The uprising was a public humiliation for Putin, a leader believed to have a long history of taking out those he perceives as traitors. Many believed Prigozhin's days were numbered. 2 months later, on August 23, a private Embraer jet traveling from Moscow to St. Petersburg crashed north of the capital, killing Prigozhin and 9 other people on board. Different theories as to why the jet crashed abound, with Moscow and Washington both suggesting foul play. Zelensky says Ukrainian weapon has reached target. A new Ukrainian-made long-range weapon has successfully reached a target 700 kilometers, 435 miles, away, the country's President Volodymyr Zelensky said. It is not yet clear when the attack was carried out or what exactly the target was. Lithuania says EU should say they will support Ukraine to its victory. Lithuania's Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis told reporters that the EU should stop saying they would support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes should be replaced by supporting Ukraine to its victory, he said at an EU foreign ministers meeting in Toledo, Spain. If we are unable to say this, it is because there are other options in our mind, and the only other option is Putin's victory, he added. Ukraine's months-long counteroffensive at the crossroads. A critical juncture has been reached in Ukraine's months-long counteroffensive. After weeks of difficult battles, Ukrainian forces have slowly edged south in the Zaporizhia region, taking hamlet after hamlet as Russian forces try to keep them at bay. Al Jazeera's defense editor Alex Gatopoulos explains how Ukraine's troops appear to be nearing a breakthrough. Ukraine says Russia restricting food rations to military personnel in occupied areas. Ukraine's deputy defense minister, Hanna Maliar, says the logistical support to Russia's military personnel continues to deteriorate and food supplies to individual military units in occupied areas of Ukraine have been restricted. She added that the use of food restrictions to punish personnel has become one of the characteristic features of the so-called special military operation of the Soviet Union in Ukraine. Prigozhin's right-hand man in Wagner buried quietly near Moscow. Dmitry Utkin, co-founder and commander of the Russian mercenary group Wagner, has been buried near Moscow, days after he died in a plane crash that also killed his boss Yevgeny Prigozhin. Utkin, 53, whose call sign, Wagner, gave the private army its name, was buried in Mytishi, on the outskirts of the capital, in a ceremony cordoned off by Russian military police, according to the popular online news channel Shot. Ukraine says Russian troops maintain presence by borders in the north. Ukraine's deputy defense minister Hanna Maliar has said that Russia continues maintaining a military presence in the areas bordering Ukraine in the north. 3 groups of troops covering the state border in the Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod regions have been kept with the aim of restraining our troops, she said in a statement on the Telegram messaging app. She added that while active hostilities and heavy fighting continues, Ukraine's troops are achieving milestones not only in the north but also in the east and south. UK reports single breach of Russian sanctions by Wise Payments. The British government says financial services company Wise Payments has breached Russian sanctions regulations by making funds available to a company owned or controlled by a person on the sanctions list. The government's Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation, OFSI, said Wise had reported a suspected breach, a withdrawal of £250, $317, in cash, which took place in June 2022, the day after the person had been designated. OFSI does not assess the breach as sufficiently serious to impose a monetary penalty on Wise, it said in a statement. However, the nature and circumstances of this breach were assessed as moderately severe, and in OFSI's judgment a disclosure is the appropriate and proportionate enforcement response. Russia escorts Norwegian jet over Barents Sea. Russia's defense ministry has said that a Russian MiG-31 fighter jet took off to escort the Norwegian P-8A Poseidon patrol aircraft over the Barents Sea. When a Russian fighter aircraft approached, the foreign military aircraft made a U-turn from the state border of the Russian Federation. Violation of the state border of the Russian Federation is not allowed, the defense ministry said in a statement on the Telegram messaging app. It is not yet clear if the Norwegian aircraft's route had any links to the continuing war in Ukraine. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.